Called ice-free zones in L.A. County. The plan comes from L.A. County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath.
Simply put, our federal government is killing its own citizens. Let that sink in. Our federal government is freely, without cause, murdering its own citizens in broad daylight, in front of witnesses and cameras.
Horvath went on to mention Renee Good, the woman killed by an ICE officer in Minnesota. The Trump administration says the ICE officer was acting in self-defense because Good hit him with her vehicle. In final news, we're watching to see what, if anything, the Trump administration might do today with Iran. The people of Iran continue to protest the Islamic regime that governs the country. Trump canceled meetings yesterday with Iranian officials and told the people that help is on the way. Find more news on afn.net.
At Wesley Biblical Seminary, we believe God is raising up a movement across our nation and around the world who hold fast to the inerrancy of Scripture and the hope of holiness. We do this through bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees, certificate programs, and even training for lay people. So whatever your next step is in being equipped for ministry, we're here for you. And if you believe these are the kind of pastors we need leading churches in the future, we invite you to think about giving to Wesley Biblical Seminary. Learn more about us at wbs.edu.
Hello, and welcome to the Dr. Nurse Mama Show, prescribing hope for healthy families here on American Family Radio. Here's your host, Professor, Pediatric Nurse Practitioner, and Mom of 4, Dr. Jessica Peck.
Well, hey there, friends, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy New Year. It is a great day today. We are halfway through the week. We are halfway through the first month of the year. Can you even believe it? Now, if you're thinking, wow, I cannot believe we're almost halfway through the first month of the year, I'm here to make you feel better about that because listen, you might be wondering, I talk so much about Christmas, before Christmas, and how I love to put up Christmas stuff. And you may be wondering, does she have her Christmas tree down? No, in fact, I do not. I do not. I am struggling to get on board this year, and I know I have a lot to do, but I did linger and enjoy the holidays with my family, with my kids from college who were home, and, some of those things can wait. And I know my husband is listening in thinking, okay, wait, but, where's the but, honey? I'll promise I will take it down before the end of this month or next month. No, I will get it down this month, but January really is the month of fresh starts. It is a new beginning. 2026 is a fresh slate. And for a lot of families, it's also even already just these 2 weeks in, it's when all of our resolutions start to fall apart, when our good intentions go by the wayside. We start with, okay, this is going to be the best year ever. We're going to have the planner. We're going to have the chore charts. We're going to go to the gym. We're going to not make a mess. And by February, you're tired and you're frustrated and you're wondering what went wrong. But you know what today is? Today is National Organize Your Home Day. And yes, if you're wondering, that means I have the delightful Kathi Lipp back. Now, last year, we started a series that I named the Declutter Diaries. This is something I really struggle with. I cannot even tell you what a cluttery person I am. I hold on to things. I'm overly sentimental. I'm busy. I don't make time that I need, and I get decision fatigue, which I've learned now. And Kathi Lipp helped me and so many of you, I know because I've heard from so many of you, to declutter your homes. Clutter really takes space in our homes, in our minds, in our hearts, and in our relationships. And it even impacts us spiritually. So today we're going to talk about organizing our lives in a way that actually supports our families. We're not talking about controlling them, overwhelming them, setting them up to fail. We don't need more rules. We need less decision fatigue. And I'm telling you, that is what I need. We don't need to be perfect. We need to be peaceful. And structure, when it is done well, it's not restrictive. It is protective. So today we're going to reframe all of those organization tools. I know you're getting all the sales paper, the sales ad. Your algorithm is feeding you how much you need a storage system for a problem that you don't even know you have yet. And we are going to start year 2. I can't even believe that. I need another year. But we're going to start year 2 with Kathi Lipp on decluttering. If you want to join her Declutter Academy, go over to Facebook. They let all of my listeners in for free. Okay. Tell all your friends, just tell them, send a little message, say, hey, I listened on the Dr. Nurse Mama, and they'll let you into that Facebook group. Kathi, Happy New Year. And I'm so delighted that you are back.
Happy New Year, and thank you for having me back. I enjoy talking with you so much, and your listeners are delightful, by the way. We've probably had at least 1,000, maybe 1,500
No
join our
way.
group over the past year. Yeah, because we typically get between like 75 to 150 each month. And can I just say they make everything better over there? It's been
You
really
can say that.
lovely.
You can say it again. You can say
Yes.
it louder for the people in the back, for the people who are in their cluttered closets trying to clean out for January. Say,
Right?
you are our people. I love it. And
Yes.
I'm grateful that we can partner together to serve those
Yeah.
listeners because it really has helped me.
Yeah.
Kathi, I want to start by saying these are the main lessons that I think I've learned from this last year where we've had
Ooh.
these Declutter Diaries. Yes, these are my main 3 lessons, okay? I've learned 3 things that have really changed in my life. The first thing is to organize in short segments with small projects. That has been a fundamental shift for me because I used to, my kids would dread, oh, this is the day we're going to clean out the fill in the blank. They're like, no, that means
Right.
she's going to blare worship music and do angry mopping and say, why do we have this? So I've learned to do short projects just to make it a short daily discipline. That's number 1. Number 2, I've learned I am resourceful and creative. I do not need to hold on to things that I don't need. Like, again, I told you, I don't need the jellyfish hat that I wore at youth camp 7 years ago. I can let that go. It has had its season. And number 3, I have learned that I can find such joy in blessing others. I look back at my life, Kathi, and I've had a lot of different seasons, changing seasons where, I've changed jobs, where you need different clothes for different jobs or different roles as a mom. And I think, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with this. Like, I feel bad getting rid of it. But I've found a ministry called Clothed by Faith. We have interviewed the director of that before, and they give clothes to school children and their moms, which is so fantastic. And I can't tell you how much joy it's given me to think of the things that I've given away with tags on them and think of someone who would be going to a clothing ministry, how hard that must be, walking in
Right.
and thinking, what are they going to get? And then they get something new with tags on it, something nice. That makes me happy. So those are my main 3 takeaways. And I just wanted to thank you for sharing your wisdom with me to change my life. And my husband thanks you too.
Oh my, this is amazing to me because, sometimes the decluttering we do isn't always 100% obvious. Yeah, when you're cleaning out your closet, yeah, you see that bag going to the clothing ministry, which I love, by the way. I love that you're doing that. But it doesn't always it doesn't always have the impact we think it'll have right away. But this is what we're talking about here is the slow, sustained decluttering that doesn't just make our house, have a before and after, because don't we all love a before and after?
Oh,
But
yeah.
the really slow, sustained change is what's going to last. And when you are doing things on the regular, it says, I don't want to bring a bunch of new stuff into my house that I don't actually need. I'm much freer. I'm much more hands open with my things. So if somebody needs something I have, I can be the first one to give it up. And I love that you've reclaimed your Saturdays and it's not,
So do my kids.
8 hours to declutter. Well, also because we're just bad at making that many decisions over
Yeah.
that period of time. And to be able to say, hey, I'm going to protect my peace and I'm going to do this a little bit at a time. And by the way, people always say, I don't want you to come to my house, Kathi, because you're the declutter lady. Like my heart is still like, I love stuff. I'm a maximalist, not a minimalist. But I also know that when it tips to the wrong side, that is impacting my peace. And that's
Yeah.
so I love that you did those 3 things and I've written them down because it sometimes it can feel like we haven't made any progress, but I know you have because not only have you mentioned it every month, but your husband has too.
Oh, he absolutely has. He will be. I think I told you last time. He pretend calls you. Oh, Kathy. Yeah, didn't you say that Jessica needs to stop having 5 things come into the house? He loves it. But you hit on an important point, Kathy, because that decision fatigue is a major reframe for me. And sometimes I
Yeah.
stop beating myself up about that because I think, okay, this is something I don't have the emotional bandwidth for. Let me give you an example. Actually, just this morning, okay, one of my teenage sons came to me with a big tub of stuff and said, "This is for my room. I don't want it. You take it and do what you want with it." And when I peeked open under the what was in there, what was in that tub, it's like very sentimental stuffed animals like that he had when he was a baby and so I just
Right.
shut the lid back down and I just said, "Okay, I do not have the emotional bandwidth to make that decision today.
Right.
So sorry, honey, that will be a
Yes.
tub that's sitting in the, in the hallway somewhere for just a day or two till I can get my emotions straight and decide what to do with
Yeah.
that." But these are just the reframes. And I think that is really important for families right now in January because we have a lot of
Yes.
people
Yes.
who are putting away their Christmas stuff and they're having arguments. I'm going to dare to say, I
Right.
think there's husbands and wives having arguments over how messy the garage is. Do we really need all this Christmas stuff? I'm going to have to get it down again next year. Can't you clean out a closet, put it somewhere else? There are these discussions going on and people are feeling bad. People are beating
Yeah.
themselves up. How can we reframe all of these good intentions into meaningful actions?
Yeah. So everybody wants to do this full on reset in January. We want to change our lives. We want to stop eating the bad food. We want to start, doing the hard 30, the workouts for 30 days in a row. And, it's what we talked about before that slow, sustained change is what is actually going to stick. And so I think it's okay for families to have discussions around how do we want to live in our home? How do we want to function in our home? Because if you never have the discussion, you're both coming with a family history that says this is how we deal with stuff in our home. And it may not always be the the approach that is healthiest for your new family. And so I think there's a couple of thoughts, a couple of things we need to pay attention to in January. January feels hopeful and exhausting. Like it's this crazy
Yes.
combination. And
Yes.
we've waited till after we've, done the Christmas dishes and put them up in the attic, et cetera, et cetera. And here's what I believe that maybe your family doesn't need more rules. They need different rules and less decision fatigue. Exactly what you were talking about there. Every item that comes into your house is a decision. And can I tell you something I have been really like examining my own heart, Jessica,
Oh,
is that
yes.
I I get a dopamine hit from buying broccoli. Like just
Did not expect that.
buying buying something. I get probably a bigger hit from this gorgeous sweater I just bought recently. And I knew I wanted it and I calculated the purchase. I talked to Roger about it. But being able to put something in my cart, whether it's an
Oh, yeah.
e-cart or a regular cart, there's just something that says this is going to change my life. I'm going to have this broccoli. So that what that broccoli represents to me is I'm going to be eating healthy. Or even if I put Oreos in my cart, that represents I'm going to share a treat with somebody I love. Like we have these lives that are attached to these things, and it gives us this dopamine hit that says, I am going to change my life. And so, what I've really had to do is dial back and say, instead of making more decisions, I need to be making less decisions in this 2026. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm saying, here are the 15 meals that we eat, that I prep for dinner. I'm not going to be buying exotic ingredients. I'm just going to keep it simple until I get tired of some of those. And then I'm going to swap them for other meals that we would like. I'm making less decisions. I've already gotten rid of a bunch of my clothes. I'm getting rid of more because having a fuller closet for some reason makes me feel like I have less to wear, because it's such a decision to go in there and put together outfits. Whereas, let's be honest, I
You
wear
only wear the same.
same.
Yes.
Exactly, right? The same
Yep.
5 pairs of pants and 10
Yep.
tops over and over and over again.
Yep.
And guys, we are creatures of habit. We are doing the same things over and over and over again.
Yep. You know, Kathy, I got a dress once that I love so much. My kids started calling it my uniform. They're like, is this your new uniform? Are you just wearing this? I'm like, yes, because it's easy. I don't have to think. And then why do I need all of that other stuff? Listen, we've got a lot more to talk about. Thinking of January about resetting your home. And I'm really excited because it's National Organize Your Home Day. And the good news is you don't have to do it today. You can just decide that you want to start it this year. And when we come back, I want to talk to Kathy about this concept of aspiration and thinking of what we want to be, what we imagine ourselves to be, rather than what we really are, and how that impacts clutter in our homes. I'll be right back with Kathi Lipp.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads about debt settlement that seemed too good to be true. And actually, it was. When I called, they told me to stop paying my bills. That didn't sound right to me at all, so I hung up. Later, I found out that debt settlement is bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's called a debt management program from the great team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved my credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-788-1813.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-788-1813.
Without even seeing them show up, I could feel like the darkness.
Jamie Sanchez is another Christian business proprietor who has been targeted for his faith. His Drip Cafe was opened to serve and help the homeless of downtown Denver.
We believe sex outside of marriage and homosexuality is a sin in God's eyes. And the enemy and his minions decided to use that as a platform.
Jesus told us persecution would come.
I would see them, just the rage and the hate. I pictured them doing that at the foot of the cross to Jesus. And I just remembered what he said, "Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do." And so I had to position my heart that way.
The Jamie Sanchez story is one of the videos of the Impact series at stream.afa.net.
It's been a crazy, crazy ride.
See Jamie's story and much more at stream.afa.net.
The heartbeat of a baby in the womb, heard through ultrasound, is one of the most beautiful sounds you can hear. But abortion stops that heartbeat before a baby is ever born. Preborn saves the lives of babies by letting a pregnant mother see their baby and hear the heartbeat with a free ultrasound.
My name is Mary. I'm calling from Tennessee. Recently, I have a granddaughter who will be 2, and her mom connected with Preborn.
When a mother hears the heartbeat on ultrasound, her baby's chance for life dramatically improves. Through the years, Preborn has saved the lives of 400,000 babies. And beyond that, thousands of young mothers have found salvation in Jesus. You can help with a donation to Preborn. January 19th through 23rd will be Preborn Week on AFR. Our goal is to raise support for 5,000 free ultrasounds. Be listening and help support Preborn. Your love can save a life.
I believe there is one salvation, one doorway that leads to life, one redemption, one confession. I believe in the name of Jesus Christ. Hey!
Welcome back, friends. That is I Believe by Phil Wickham. And listen, I believe that this can be the year that you finally declutter your house. We are starting year 2. I cannot even believe that, but we're starting year 2 of the Declutter Diaries. This has been a really well-received, popular series by you, our listeners. So yep, I'm on with Kathi Lipp today. If that gives you a sudden urge to clean out your junk drawer in your kitchen, go for it. Do it. Do that decluttering in small segments. Relieve yourself of decision fatigue. These are all things that I've learned from Kathi Lipp over this last year. Organize in short segments. Do small projects. Know that I'm resourceful and creative. I don't need to stockpile things. I can get a hold of something if I need it. I have friends who will help me or other resources. I can bless others by giving away things that are still useful but are not useful for me in this season. I don't need to keep things to validate a memory. I know that that memory is in my heart and I don't need an object to validate it. These are things that I've learned. I know that you all listening have learned things as well. And today is National Organize Your Home Day. And many of you probably are really looking longingly. I'm going to go out on a limb, Kathi. I think there are some people listening who already have organization things in their cart. And maybe you're trying to butter up your spouse to say, okay, let's go ahead and buy it. Let's do this. Like we have women who are dreaming their husbands are going to make them that viral, tub holder out in the garage for all of the seasonal decorations, all of those things. But the truth is most routines fail because we make them too complicated and we make them for an ideal life and not our real one. And I want to tell you one last thing, Kathi, and then I'm going to have you teach us some more because I know that I do this. I mean, my husband has told me before when I'm trying to keep a perfect house, he's like, you do realize that real people live here, right? Like we actually live here.
Yes.
And we can't make it look like it doesn't. And there's some things that, I think, I don't want to get rid of. And, maybe especially like a clothing piece. But not too long ago, I ran out into a friend in public and, she just looked amazing. She was dressed to the nines. She had a designer bag. I'm not hating on that at all. But I was not. I was wearing my husband's college sweatshirt and like this old quilted bag that my granny gave me from Walmart, And I thought like, okay, I don't need to hold on to that stuff because that's not really who I am, I've got to go for what's really going to work for our families. So how can families stop confusing aspirational organization with what they actually have capacity for?
Yeah. Several years ago, I co-wrote a book called Overwhelmed with my friend Sherry Gregory. And we used the illustration of a plate that I feel like I have a pretty typical to maybe a little bit more capacity than the average bear. And so my plate is like a dinner plate, right? And one of my friends, Tennille, I always say she's the turkey platter person in my life. Like her capacity is absolutely huge. She's always willing to help somebody. She runs several businesses. It's just amazing. Sherry Gregory, she says, for a long time, she said, and I'm the salad plate. She gets overwhelmed pretty well. And then she finally decided, no, I'm a dessert plate because I only pick the best things to put on my plate.
That.
Right. And so we have to understand what the capacity is. I've got a friend who lives in the Austin area whose son is on, it's not a pro team. He's in high school, but it's a traveling team that they get flown to other states. And that takes a lot of your capacity away from you. I have never been in a situation like that. But as you know, Jessica, I've got long COVID. And so my capacity is at the smallest it's been in my entire life. And we have to get realistic about our capacity because a routine that only works when everything is working doesn't work. It just doesn't. We can't always be at 100%. And when you're saying, okay, so every day as a family, we're going to get together and we're going to have this family meeting and we're all going to spend a half an hour decluttering a space. Like, right? It sounds ridiculous, but we have come to our families with things like that because we've been desperate. And so when you are concerned about capacity, one of the things you have to do is you have to really right size your output. How much time am I really going to spend? And if you can spend 15 minutes and maybe you can get the rest of your family to do 15 minutes, or maybe that's just on the weekends. You have to decide what your family has capacity for. You can start to shrink some of that clutter in your life. But we also have to really look at our input. What are we bringing into our homes? What are we really committing to our calendars? And so to be able to say, you know what, we are living on the tattered edge right now. And if we add one more thing, it's all going to topple over. So really looking at that capacity, and then saying what systems could actually work with this, because we can have the best goals in the world. You can have perfect goals, but if you have an imperfect system, you're going to fall to that imperfect system. So let's find some systems that match our lives.
You know, Kathi, this really impacts families because I think it's often moms who are trying to, it's to create this plan for organization, and dads do too, for sure. But I often see moms doing this. And I know I have done this as a mom, and you're so well-intentioned. You really want to serve your family. You really want it to work for you. And then when it doesn't, I mean, I have found myself like all of a sudden you're griping at your kids, you're griping at your spouse. You're saying like, why can't we get this together? This is driving me crazy. And you just start to really lose your mind. And that's where it impacts your relationships. And then your kids are tiptoeing around like, oh, mom's mad. It's a terrible feeling, Kathi. What can we do when we recognize the system's not working? What do you do to fix that?
My guess is you're comparing your life to somebody who has a larger capacity than you do.
Oh,
and
ouch. Oh, you just went there. That hurt. That's true.
But also, Jessica, I think there's freedom in that, right?
Yes.
I think there's some freedom in that to say, you know what? We're not the family that can cook from scratch every single night of the week. Or maybe we do cook from scratch, but you're going to be eating vegetable soup 3 nights a week, or chili, or whatever it is, that kind of thing. We are not the family that can have a perfectly maintained house, but we're the family who can function within our house and then have a lot of fun. Like understanding who you are as a family. And it's okay to be a little aspirational and say, hey, here's some tweaks I'd like to try, because man, mornings are making me crazy. And I don't think I don't think any of us like when I'm frustrated. And I know that you don't like to be rushed. So where's the middle point there? What can we do? Can we do things the night before so that you're not feeling rushed in the morning, but also I'm not late for work, because that's not okay either. And so to say, hey, we're going to make some tweaks, but we're not going to change everything at once. We're going to try some things and we're going to say, hey, did this work for our family or not? And then we adjust from there.
That is such an important lesson. And I'm thinking of 2 things as you're talking. One is, I remember when my kids were young and they went over to one of my friend's houses I had 4 kids and she had 1 kid. And she started sending me pictures, texting me pictures saying, this is how I know your kids are here. And it was pictures of piles of shoes and cups that were all over the counter. Right. And at first, honestly, Kathi, I kind of got offended. I was like, what is she saying? My kids are messy? And then I realized, no, these are just signs of life. And so she has more capacity than I do, because just the more people you have to take care of, the more capacity that takes from you. And I thought, okay, so I've just got to do things differently. I got to put away 4 pairs of shoes, not 1. And another thing that I thought about when you were saying that is one of the issues of capacity. This used to be a real pain point for me when I was taking my kids to school. And, inevitably somebody would forget something. So Kathi, I made an emergency kit for my car. This is something that absolutely saved my life. I thought, okay, we may not, be able to like do the whole, like check the chart, like do the stickers before you leave the door and all of that. But I can have a disposable toothbrush. I can have a granola bar that I can give you if you didn't eat breakfast. I can have extra pencils. I can have an extra calculator. I just had, those things that they needed that, they may have forgotten. And I just put it right there. Like, okay, here it is. Here is what you need. Here's an extra belt. I had a belt, because they had to have the uniform standards or whatever it was. But I think that is a huge point you're making, is make it work for your life and not have these rigid schedules and rhythms, but have, and let's talk about that actually. What is the difference between a schedule and a rhythm? I think this will be a really helpful reframe for people.
So a schedule is, we do these things at this time every day or every week, something like that. And some things in our lives need to be scheduled. They really do. I spend a lot of time putting things onto our schedule, meetings we have and things like that. But a rhythm is more sequence based. So when I'm cleaning my kitchen, I don't have a schedule of what I do, but I just have a rhythm that has been developed. I start at the sink and I spray things with the Dawn power cleaner, because isn't that the best thing that has ever been invented?
It is.
It's the best. I love it. And then I'm going along my counter and I'm putting things into the refrigerator and I'm throwing things away. And then I go over to the coffee bar and I'm setting up coffee for the next morning. And then I'm going to the kitchen table. Like, there is a whole sequence of things I do. And I don't need a schedule to be reminded. I just need that sequence, and it's very location sensitive. I just go around the room. And so let me give some examples. Like, a morning routine, you're not necessarily saying, okay, you're getting up. Yeah, I'm sure the starting bell starts the time every single time, but you wake up, you go to the bathroom, you go downstairs to do breakfast, and then you're going to do backpacks. Like, that is the sequence of things. An evening rhythm, you're going to do dinner, and then you're going to reset the kitchen. You're going to prep for tomorrow, and then you're going to go rest and relax. And so you can say to your family, hey, after dinner, we reset the kitchen. We get our backpacks ready for tomorrow. And then we get to watch TV, or we're going to read some books, or we're going to play a game, whatever it is. But it's not so much check marks as it's saying, hey, we're all in this together, and this is the rhythm of our home.
Well, that's one thing that you said that really stuck with me, is that because this can be a fight for families about chores. And that may be your kids doing chores, or maybe even spouses, splitting chores between themselves. But thinking of this as, not thinking of it as a punishment or something you have to do, but instead of punishment, thinking of it and reframing it to participation, where everyone's contributing because everyone belongs. How can we reframe that? Because chores are what's going to decrease clutter. If everyone's regularly participating, that's going to help.
Yeah, I think having a set of chores that each kid does that they become proficient at, so maybe they're doing them for 3 months. So, and really making sure that the chores are level appropriate. How old is this person? What can they actually accomplish? And also, let's be honest, I had some kids that were a little bit more meticulous than other kids. And if I wanted, right. So if I wanted to survive, it was important. I knew that when my son did the dishes, there needed to be a little bit more quality control there. And that's okay. But to be able to say, some practical guidelines are, hey, we all get to move on to the next thing once everything's done. So, if one person is behind, maybe they have something going on, or maybe they're having a bad day. And can we come along and help? Now, we don't want to develop a crutch for that person, but to be able to say, hey, we're all in this together. So I think fewer chores done more consistently. If your child has more than 3 chores, it might be worth taking a look at that. And then really making sure it matches who they are, not to coddle them, but to say, hey, and training is so important. None of us are born knowing how to do this. And so it's important that we spend some time really training and saying, here are some secrets I've learned to make it easier, or, this is the one thing you really need to pay attention to.
And you've shared some really helpful language shifts, because when our kids or our spouses, if we're being honest, don't do their chores, we often say, why didn't you do the dishes? Why didn't you unload the dishwasher? Didn't you see it was there? And you have suggested reframing it, saying, in our family, this happens after that. So in our family, we clean up after dinner. We watch TV when all of the dishes are put away, or whatever it is. That sequence reframing is really helpful, because asking rhetorical questions is only going to start a fight. Usually you're just going to get a rolled eye, a sigh, I'm going to do it, I'm going to get it done. Listen, when we come back, we'll talk about the family calendar and talk about restructuring with purpose. We'll be right back with Kathi Lipp.
America is about to celebrate her 250th birthday. In the beginning of our country, almost all American children were raised with a Christian worldview. That has drastically changed over the last 250 years. What's your opinion on what we can do to restore it? Your thoughts and your support will help us fight for our kids, and we'll give you the DVD Educated for Liberty with Stephen McDowell as our thanks. Visit afa.net/educate today. afa.net/educate.
The loss of a child through abortion, miscarriage, or stillbirth affects the emotional health of families. Feelings of anger, sadness, and regret can be overwhelming. There is hope and healing in the aftermath of a reproductive loss. Call the International Helpline at 866-482-LIFE to talk with someone who has been where you are and healed to help others. Your call is confidential. 866-482-LIFE.
Did you know there's a tool that allows you to make a gift to the American Family Association and receive fixed income payments for life? That's right, it's called a charitable gift annuity. It's simply an agreement between you and AFA that allows you to make a gift of cash or property, perhaps appreciated stock, securities, and in exchange, you receive a charitable donation, a partial income tax deduction, and you'll receive fixed income payments for life for you or you and your spouse and a beneficiary, and then at your death, the American Family Association keeps the gift. It's an incredible way for you to support the culture-transforming work of the American Family Association and ensure that continues for generations. If you want to learn more, just contact the team at afafoundation.net.
Please give us a call, 1-800-326-4543, extension 345, or you can visit us at afafoundation.net. We look forward to hearing from you soon.
What if healthcare could be more than bills and bureaucracy? What if it could reflect faith, foster community, and offer spiritual support? At Redeem HealthShare Ministry, the mission goes beyond medical bills. It's about honoring Christ and embracing healthcare that aligns with Christian values. Redeem members share medical expenses through monthly contributions, supporting one another in a Christ-centered community. It's not insurance, it's believers helping believers through financial support and prayer. And Redeem HealthShare provides freedom for members to select the doctors, hospitals, and treatments that are right for them. No networks, no restrictions, just faith-driven care. From everyday checkups to unexpected medical emergencies, Redeem offers flexible programs and encouragement rooted in Scripture. Because your healthcare should reflect your faith, not compromise it. More at redeemhealthshare.org.
Wandering into the night, wanting a place to hide this weary soul, this bag of bones. I tried with all my might, but I just can't win the fight. I'm slowly drifting, a vagabond. And just when I ran out of road, I met a man I didn't know, and he told me that I was not alone. He picked me up and turned me around and placed my feet on solid ground. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, because he healed my heart and changed my name, forever free.
Welcome back, friends. That is I Thank God by House Fires. And you know what? I thank God for you. I really, truly do. I am so thankful for those of you who listen in, especially those of you who listen in every day. Thank you so much for joining us. We are on our first episode of 2026 of the Declutter Diaries. This is a series I did last year with Kathi Lipp, and my listeners said, please continue to help us. And I said, oh, please, I will continue to help myself as well. And if you want to join Kathi Lipp's Clutter Academy on Facebook, she'll let you in for free. Okay, for free. Tell all your friends. She's going to let you in. Just send a message, find her on Facebook, Kathi Lipp's Clutter Free Academy, and you can learn all the things. And today is National Organize Your House Day. Now, that does not mean you should, drop everything and you're going to do a spring cleaning head to toe. We've learned a lot of different things about why we have clutter and how we can do better about it. And in January, a lot of families start out with really good intentions. Kathi, I think one of the most important things that you've said today on this show that is a real takeaway from me is that if your system's not working for you, it doesn't mean you failed. It means the system is failing you, and you're probably comparing yourself to something else, someone else that you have seen, some aspirational family, some aspirational social media, some influencer family who's paid to have all of that content and probably still lives all messy behind the camera. Let's be honest. Those things are really important. And one of the things, Kathi, that people are looking at right now is their calendar. And you call this a peacemaker system. So how in the world? Because I look at the calendar and I think that means stress for me. How is it an underestimated tool for peace? This sounds pretty radical.
So there is something that I learned from Roger, my husband, about when he's working with a team. And there's a document called the single source of truth. So if it's true and it's been agreed upon, it goes on to this document. Our family calendar is the single source of truth. So if there is something going on at school, if mom's going to be away on a business trip, putting that on the single source of truth, that family calendar, is critical. But it's not enough to just put it on the calendar. It has to be referred to as well. Jessica, I don't know about you, but I'm going to guess, because you are one of my cluttery soul sisters.
Yes.
That we make great plans sometimes that stay locked on our laptop. That
guilty.
We are not, right?
Yeah.
And so I really think that us cluttery people, and I'm just going to say women. Can we just say women? Because I think that's mostly who is listening. And but the expectations for us have gone up astronomically. My mom always says, I don't know how you do it. And I look at my daughter, I'm like, I don't know how you do it. Like, the expectations have gone up astronomically, and all the things that we need to manage. And so we need to have those calendars in a very visible place. And I resisted a paper calendar for years and years and years. And I finally said, okay, we all have to agree to use it. And by the way, if you don't put something on here, I'm not going to feel bad if something doesn't happen. And that includes school projects. That includes getting you to practice. And if you need help, sometimes our kids need to be able to say, hey, this is what my coach says is when our practices are. And if they bring home the piece of paper, I will be happy to put it on the calendar. But we need to have a place where everything that is on there is it's our landing spot. It's what we know is the truth. And if digital works for you, that's great. I have to do kind of a combination between work and real life, but the visibility is so important. And some people will say, well, it's not really important for my kids to know what's going on. But I think kids benefit so much from knowing what's coming up, from knowing, hey, tomorrow night, your sister has soccer. And I know you have a report due, so I know you love to come to soccer, but you're going to need to stay home with dad and work on that report while I take Sissy to soccer. It gives talking points to say, hey, we're not trying to cram 10 pounds into a 5-pound bag because it's not going to work.
That is really helpful. And another tip that you have about the calendar, and I did say, by the way, Kathy, I said this sounds radical, and it does, because you're talking about accountability here. Like, oh my goodness, what will happen if they go to school with no lunch, or they don't have the supplies that they need? And sometimes I do think we are way too quick to rescue our kids, and we take that stress on ourselves. And then we're just teaching our kids that, hey, yeah, if you're in a pinch, I'll do it. And I think sometimes it's okay to let the consequences fall. Like, you've got to assess and use your wisdom as a parent, but sometimes it's okay that they can go to school without lunch. They won't forget that. But one of the other tips oh yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, there's a big difference between a 5-year-old
Yes.
learning those. We're going to lower the stakes way down. But, at 16, I'm not running to high school to bring you lunch unless there's a medical reason I need to. And by the way, you should have a few dollars that you've earned either from a job or from chores, or you've saved up for those emergencies, because I cannot always, and we're scaling up to letting our kids survive on their own, because we can't just do it when they turn 18 and go to college. That's not the time that they have a crash course in responsibility.
Well, it is so true. My kids learned to make their lunch from an early age because I thought, that was something they could learn how to do. And occasionally, you have to, again, you got, like you said, you got to use your parental judgment. But, sometimes it would just be, oh, that's so great. I'm so glad you forgot your lunch. You have an opportunity to fast today. Just use that extra time to pray. Which is great. But one other tip that you have that I really liked, Kathy, was naming the week and using language for that. And if you have a visual calendar that people can see, saying, this is a busy week, this is a push week, or this is a recovery week, this is a rest week, and giving your family that expectation. One of the suggestions that you have is having a weekly family meeting. I definitely do this with my family, and that changes a lot depending on who's here and who's not, because I have kids coming and going all over the place. But we do have a check-in. What's on everybody's week? What do we need to be there for? What can we anticipate? When are we going to be out? When are we going to be in? Where do we need to flex and give? That's really important. And you said when everyone knows what to expect, everyone behaves better, including the adults. And I think that's true.
Right. And I think it's also so helpful because you can see things added to it until you sit down and maybe explain it to somebody else. You don't realize, oh, you know what? We're going to be doing dinner at the football field. And so, I'm going to prep that in the morning, because until you see how many things are on there and how close they are together. Because we've signed up for, managing so many different schedules, it can become overwhelming. I'm not saying this just to teach your kids lesson, but also I want to lower your stress. It's really important to me that you're not caught off guard by what's going on in your family, so that you can have that structure, which equals peace. And
well, the
that's what I
opposite
want.
of that is chaos, Kathy. And I think that's where a lot of families are living. I think you said, like, we're living on the ragged edge where we have no margin, and it's just chaos. And when I'm trying to manage, too much, and you can't find the sports equipment, you can't find your work bag or your badge or whatever it is that you're running around trying to find in the morning or in the night before you go to bed, that chaos really consumes emotional energy. That is emotionally expensive. That is costing somebody something. Sometimes it's just you. Sometimes it's other people in your family. It's your marriage. It's your extended family. It's your kids. How do we use peace and pursue peace to create margin in our lives from clutter?
Yeah. So I think that I think peace starts oftentimes in our homes with a partnership, to say, here are the things that are stressful to me as the wife. I want to hear what is stressful to you as a husband. And then paying attention to our kids. Sometimes, there are some real things that will trigger our kids. But I think one of the things that is going to lower the chaos in your home almost immediately is to have less things in your home. It's too many decisions. Last night I washed my dog's toys, and then I put them all in the basket. And I'm like, I wonder if she has too many toys. That feels like a lot. I've never seen a dog overwhelmed by toys, but she couldn't figure out what to play with. So she just pulled them all out of the basket. And I'm like, well, that's not what we want. But you know what? Aren't we the same? When we have too many choices, our hearts cannot settle. And so to really limit the choices, not in a punishing way, but to say, you know what? These 15 meals bring my family joy. These 10 outfits bring me joy. These 10 games bring our family joy. To be able to limit and get rid of the nonsense, you could have tried something and it worked for a while, but maybe your kids are beyond hungry hippos, or, whatever the extra game is. To really curate your life so that you say, I'm setting my heart on peace. Too many choices cause confusion and chaos, and God wants my heart to settle on peace, and that's what I want too. So I am going to curate my life.
I'm thinking some of us are really at the toddler level developmentally when it comes to clutter. And I think about, when my kids were toddlers, you give them two choices. Do you want to wear the red shirt or the blue shirt? Do you want to wear the, this or that? If you lay out 10 things and ask them to pick one, they just melt down and decompensate. And that's what I recognize I'm doing. Now, you have a 3-step reset that people can have. And if they want to start today, they're thinking, okay, you know what? It is January. I want to get on board. I don't want to create a system that fails. I don't want to, commit to something that's not going to work for me. What's a 3-step reset that I can start working towards this January on National Organize Your Home Day?
I love that. Okay, so one, we're going to pick a pain point. It could be your mornings, your dinner, your bedtime, or it could be just getting dressed in the morning, or one of my kids. It could be as simple as that, and create a tiny rhythm. You're going to do, 2, 3, no more than 4 steps. So I'm going to unload the dishwasher. I'm going to reheat my coffee. I'm going to put in breakfast, and I'm going to get my shower going. That is your tiny rhythm. Practice it for 1 week. And just see what works, what doesn't work. And then in a week, try tweaking it. If it feels uncomfortable, it's probably okay. You're just getting used to a new rhythm. It's like when you're dancing and you try to change up the rhythm. That can be hard at first, but you can make it work. We're going to be practicing this over in the Facebook group, Kathi Lipp's Clutter-Free Academy. Just go search for that on Facebook. You can join for free. But we're going to practice all of this together next week. So I encourage you to come over and hang out with us.
So that 3-step reset, pick a pain point, create a tiny rhythm, and practice it for 1 full week. And these are the small steps, friends, that change your lives. There is no magic organization system that you're going to order from those social media ads that keep coming your way, or the sales ad. There is no magic system. There is no way that one day you're just going to wake up and magically it's going to work for you. It's these little small steps. And when you talk about picking a pain point, Kathi, it's already a pain point. So if it's painful to change it, you're just choosing your pain. One is continuing to stay in it.
Oh, so good.
And one is taking that pain in a positive direction. And that's what we're here to help you do. So once a month, we'll be hosting Kathi here, and we'll have more episodes of the Declutter Diaries. We'll be talking about all kinds of things. But if this is something that really speaks to you, go over to Kathi Lipp's Declutter Academy. You can find it on Facebook, and tell her that you're my friend. She'll let you in. And I also encourage you to listen in on Fridays. We'll talk about 52 habits for healthy families. These are all these little rhythms, these tiny rhythms Kathi is talking about. We will set you up for success in those rhythms. And so, Kathi, thank you again for joining us. I know I'm grateful. I know my husband is jumping for joy that I'm learning more about decluttering. And listen, wherever you are, friend, on this National Organize Your Home Day in your declutter journey, if you're a decluttering master, or if you're just starting out in your journey, I pray the Lord will bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you and lift his countenance towards you and give you peace. I'll see you right back here tomorrow.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American